We get introduced to Nanami Momozono, a high schooler with a father who has a severe gambling addiction. Her father disappears suddenly, leaving her with his debt. Nanami, of course, has no way of paying the debt, and hence gets her house grabbed as security. Nanami is now homeless and has to fend for herself on the street. On a particular night, she ends up saving Mikage from a wild dog. Mikage is revealed to be a land god, and to thank Nanami, he kisses her forehead and transfers his powers to her. With the title comes a dilapidated shrine, which is also home to a certain yokai named Tomoe, who was less than hyped about the new god that has shown up. The shrine also houses two shikigamis, Kotetsu and Onikiri, who have the opposite feelings to Tomoe and welcome Nanami, pledging themselves to her. Tomoe leaves the shrine and Nanami ends up following him. Here she gets duped by a witch pretending to be an old woman with sprained legs. The witch intends to eat her, but Nanami catches on and escapes using a white charm. She uses another to summon Tomoe, who intends to watch, but a certain chain of events lead to Nanami kissing him and turning him into her familiar. An enraged Tomoe then ties the witch to a tree. The day after, Nanami wakes up thinking everything that transpired was a dream, but that hope gets shattered instantly. On the other hand, Tomoe has redecorated her room so it's less run down. Tomoe pledges his allegiance, whilst enraged of course, but gets over it for a bit and tells Nanami to increase her godly power through granting wishes. Tomoe tests Nanami's power by asking her to turn water into sake. It fails. Tomoe is more like Alfred from a certain series about a bat. Nanami proceeds to rush to school after hearing that Kurama, a pop star, will be there. Tomoe warns her about the possible dangers and allows her to go wearing a cat-eared hood to hide her forehead. Kurama makes his dramatic entrance, the girls swoon, and he tells Nanami to get off his seat. Nanami heads off to cry in the bathroom. Tomoe shows up and hurts her feelings before Kurama approaches her as she leaves the bathroom. She pays him almost no heed and leaves. Back in the classroom, Nanami happens to have 30,000, which Kurama has apparently misplaced. After the class searches and finds Nanami with the money, Kurama bluffs that he lent it to her. Tomoe makes a splendid entry, calling Nanami a lady, effectively shutting down Kurama. The next day, Nanami goes to school without the hood and ends up being targeted by Kurama, revealed to be a crow spirit. Tomoe intervenes and turns him into an ostrich. Nanami saves Kurama from Tomoe. Lady Numano Himemiko, a leader spirit of the swamp, shows up at the shrine and Tomoe ends up kissing her while bounding Nanami to her room. Meanwhile, Tomoe presents Nanami in a bolstered position, whilst Himemiko's attendant, Aotake, states otherwise. Nanami injects as a fight is about to break out, introducing herself to Lady Himemiko. The fight still proceeds with Tomoe's turning Aotake into a fish. Nanami saves him from becoming grilled fish and gets asked for aid by Himemiko in fixing her bond with Kotaro Urashima. Nanami agrees, even with Tomoe's disapproval, and the next day finds Kotaro at an ice cream parlor after a slight run-in with Isobe, her annoying classmate. Nanami gets Kotaro to agree to meet Lady Himemiko, before being escorted by her familiars in the night fog carriage back to the shrine. Nanami turns Himemiko into a cute girl through the powers of transformation, before guiding her to the place of the meeting. A heartfelt reunion and slight interjection by some ruffians later, Nanami has finished her job with a nudge of encouragement, gaining a bit more power in return. A white snake leaves a mark on Nanami in school, revealed by Tomoe to be a mark of favor. In other words, the snake wants to make her his wife. Tomoe proceeds to be her escort and transfers to Nanami's school to protect her from the snake, also becoming an instant hit with the girls. After school, Tomoe has dozed off in class when Nanami gets kidnapped by Mizuki, the white snake in human form. Nanami wakes up in the Yonomori shrine with two shikigamis, happy at the arrangement of Mizuki getting married. Nanami, creeped out, tries to leave the shrine but is prevented from doing so. Meanwhile, Tomoe is sick with worry and resolves to find Nanami. Nanami asks Mizuki why no one comes to visit the shrine and realizes that the shrine doesn't even have a god. The shrine is revealed to have been abandoned by Lady Yonomori. Nanami sympathizes with Miyuki's loneliness and tries to comfort him, but Mizuki gets the wrong impression. He tries to throw himself on her, but Tomoe shows up to the rescue. The fox and snake clash, leading to foxfire enveloping the shrine. Nanami stops Tomoe before he can burn everything to cinders and comforts Mizuki that she'll come to visit to keep him from the loneliness. Nanami and Tomoe head back to the shrine. Lady Narukami, the god of thunder, has declared her hate for Nanami and ends up at her school. She comes over with the intent of taking Mikage Shrine for herself, himself. Tomoe shows up as well, confronting Narukami. Narukami uses Lord Daikokuten's hammer to stop Tomoe, and turns him into a kid before proceeding to take Nanami's godly mark. The depressed duo sits on a bench, with their shrine taken and Tomoe running a fever. In the bleak situation, Kurama shows up and brings them to his palace. He reveals that getting miniaturized caused Tomoe's powers to run amok, causing his predicament. Meanwhile, Narukuma is in the Mikage Shrine, which has become run down again due to the lack of Tomoe's spirit powers, so she tells the Shikigamis to fetch him. The two come to get Tomoe. Nanami tries to interject, but Tomoe stops her from interfering and leaves Nanami to no longer pose a burden to her. A depressed Nanami thanks Kurama and tells him about what happened. He offers her his feather so she can see Onikiri and Kotetsu. The two tell her that Tomoe has hidden in the shrine, angering Narukami, so Nanami goes to the shrine to find him. Narukami isn't pleased with Tomoe's decision and gives back Nanami's mark and the hammer, bringing things back to normal, and giving Tomoe long, flowing locks. Tomoe reseals the contract with a kiss. Nanami tries to keep her cool with the heartthrob Tomoe, but looks like she has a fever. The events lead to Nanami resting and Tomoe going to school disguised as her, an extremely cool version of Nanami. Meanwhile, Kurama tries to gain favor with Nanami, Tomoe, after he learns that Tomoe joined the class while he was away. But all his attempts only infuriate Tomoe further, disguised as Nanami. Yes, I have to reiterate that Tomoe is disguised as Nanami. This is getting confusing. Tomoe discovers that a miasma is flowing in the school and goes on to search for the cause. He finds a perverted spirit in the girls' locker room, but Nakoda Ami shows up before he can finish the spirit off. Kurama distracts Ami while Tomoe disposes of the spirit. Meanwhile, Mizuki is nursing Nanami to health, and failing miserably. Mizuki proceeds to use a time-bending incense burner to show Nanami Tomoe's past. Here, Nanami is in Yukiji's body. She comes to know that Tomoe spent his time killing hostile yokai and taking advantage of beautiful girls under another yokai named Akura-O. Nanami awakens with a new perspective on Tomoe, before he shows up and kicks Mizuki out. But his touch brings her feelings back to how they were. Nanami has finals coming up, and Kurama and Tomoe continue their rivalry. Meanwhile, Ami asks Nanami for advice on approaching and thanking Kurama. Nanami decides to help her. Nanami uses a white air charm to get Kurama away from the horde of girls and asks him to wait for Ami. She thanks him for saving her from the spirit before, but Kurama doesn't remember who she is. She runs away but trips, leading them to get closer. Tomoe and Nanami chat at school, getting a bit closer in turn. Word has spread that Nanami can help with boy trouble, and so two first years approach her and ask for help with their love lives. Well, one is a bit of a third wheel. Only the girl likes Tomoe and asks Nanami to let her walk home with Tomoe. She agrees half-heartedly. On the rooftop, Nanami has conflicted feelings for accepting the girl's request and ends up realizing that she likes Tomoe, just when Tomoe shows up and gets angry for having her request that. Nanami realizes just how in love she is. Kurama calls out Tomoe after the conversation on the roof and explains how he may be inadvertently seducing Nanami, but Tomoe rejects the thought of it. Nanami gets advised by Kei that she should try going on an actual date with Tomoe, so she takes him to an aquarium after school. Of course, Nanami ends up falling further in love while Tomoe is waiting for it to end. Nanami takes him to the roof in a last-ditch effort, and here Tomoe confronts her about whether she's in love with him. She asks him what if it's true if she is. This takes Tomoe back. He carries her to the edge of the roof, saying that he won't fall in love with a human while Nanami confesses outright. Tomoe drops her by accident and jumps after her while Nanami thinks she's been rejected. She refuses Tomoe's hand and uses the sacred word to tell him not to touch her during the freefall. Desperate, he promises never to touch her as long as she lets him save her this once. The two land safely. Next day, Nanami is depressed due to Tomoe's rejection, so Kei and Ami plan a trip to the beach. So, the necessary beach episode ensues. Tomoe doesn't want her to go as the ocean is a hotbed for humans, and how he can't even go in the ocean. Tomoe and Mizuki end up coming along as Nanami refuses to give up. At the beach, Mizuki takes advantage of the fact that Tomoe can't go in the ocean and goes for a swim with Nanami. Meanwhile, Mikage and another god, Otohiko, are observing Tomoe and Nanami discreetly. Otohiko makes Ami disappear, leading to a distressed Nanami asking Tomoe for help. Poor guy can't touch her affectionately due to the promise though. Tomoe saves Ami by entering the ocean, causing Sukuna, the Dragon King, ruler of the seas, to find him. Tomoe attacked Sukuna's subordinates in the past and took his eye, so he kidnaps Tomoe. Nanami bargains with Sukuna, who asks for his right eye in exchange for Tomoe. Nanami uses the time-traveling incense burner to go to the past with Mizuki as a guide. Here she meets Tomoe from the past. Tomoe leaves with Mizuki and Nanami in pursuit. Tomoe took the eye to grant eternal life to Yukiji. He gives her the eye, saying it's medicine, before leaving to get water. Nanami and Mizuki enter the room when Yukiji collapses on the floor. Nanami tries to feed her the medicine, but Mizuki intervenes, saying that she'll lose Tomoe if she doesn't take the eye back. Nanami feeds Yukiji the eye anyway before the two go back to the present. Nanami asks Mizuki if she can meet Isohime, so Mizuki takes Nanami to her so she can extract the eye from her. Isohime asks for 30 years of her life for it, and Nanami agrees. Isohime extracts the eye but plans to betray Nanami. Mizuki steps in and kisses an unconscious Nanami to become her familiar before attacking Isohime and getting the eye back. Mizuki and Nanami head to the Dragon King's palace on a turtle, just like finding the... Anyway, the two reach the palace and find that Tomoe is making a mess of it. Nanami shows up and Tomoe hides himself in a clam. Nanami pries it open and embraces him, stating her resolve that her feelings won't change even if he doesn't see her that way. Mizuki cleverly negotiates with the Dragon King before revealing to Tomoe that he's now Hinami's familiar too. A flashback shows Tomoe walking through a wasteland, waiting for death before Mikage shows up and takes him to his shrine. Tomoe made a contract with a former god, having promised that he would spend his life with a human woman. The woman died, so now he must as well. But he's a spirit, so he can't go to where Yukiji is. Mikage helps Tomoe, casting a charm that will allow him to escape the contract he made by forgetting Yukiji. Onikiri tells Mizuki about how Tomoe didn't like touching humans when he initially became a familiar, and got scolded by Mikage often. Eventually Mikage got through to Tomoe, and he carried out his duties as a familiar until Mikage eventually left and Nanami showed up. Back in the present, Nanami goes to a mixer half-heartedly with Tomoe. Kurama and Mizuki spy on her from the room beside hers. Nanami eventually discovers Mizuki as a snake and takes him to the bathroom for an explanation. Tomoe shows up but hurts Nanami's feelings by stating that it was just a trivial matter. She goes out and Kohiru Imaki, the boy from the mixer, sits outside with her, flirts and holds her hand. This leads to a kick from Tomoe to his face before he drags Nanami away and confesses that it did in fact irritate him. Nanami's about to say something, but Mizuki ruins the moment. Mizuki heads off to get advice from Kurama to get experience with humans so he can go to school with Nanami. In Tokyo, the inexperienced Mizuki gets haggled into spending the 50,000 yen offering from the shrine. Soon after, while looking for Kurama, he asks some men of his whereabouts, but ends up being chased off by the police after scaring the men off with a snake. Eventually, he meets up with Kurama, ending up in a lunch party with him. Mizuki ends up tasting a cocktail from a drunk adult and faints from the taste before a country girl comes to his rescue. The aspiring actress comforts Mizuki, telling him that she doesn't quite fit in here either, but she tries anyway, because she loves the place, a statement that hit home with Mizuki. He gives his divine sake to the girl as she forgot to bring a drink for her mistress, helping her in turn before leaving for home. Nanami is trying to get Tomoe to go with her to the amusement park, but finds an oriental hairpin while turning his room upside down. Tomoe quickly hides it and goes with Nanami to distract her. The two spent the day in the park, going on multiple rides after Tomoe fixes her hair. During the day, Tomoe touches multiple girls, causing Nanami to get jealous. And she eventually blurts out that he liked a human girl before, so he's lying by saying that he won't develop feelings for any girl. Nanami is unaware that Tomoe is unaware. Quite unaware about being unaware with Mikage's enchantment and all, Nanami runs off and eventually night comes around. She heads to the Ferris wheel alone, thinking that Tomoe must have left. She bangs her head on the cabin, causing her hair to come undone. This makes the oriental hairpin fall out and Nanami appears on top of the cabin before coming inside. Tomoe reveals that he had bought the hairpin for her over yonder, a while ago. Nanami overhears multiple people talk about her shrine as being haunted. She resolves to hold a sacred ritual in the shrine so people's perceptions change. This leads to Mizuki, Nanami, and the two Shikigamis finding a decrepit sacred palanquin and Nanami fixing it up. Tomoe doesn't like the idea, but Nanami reveals that she wants everyone to know how much Tomoe takes care of the shrine. Preparations for the festival ensue and Kurama recommends Nanami do a ritual dance. Tomoe gets Nanami a kimono for the ritual, complimenting her while she tries it on. After a while practicing the dance, Otohiko comes along to observe Nanami's progress with Mikage in tow. Unimpressed, Otohiko approaches Nanami and releases miasma as a test for her exorcism prowess. The miasma envelops the shrine right before the festival, and Nanami tries to exorcise it with talismans, failing repeatedly. Mizuki and Tomoe see the miasma and head to a distraught Nanami. Tomoe carries her to her bed and tells her to stay there. Nanami loses confidence in herself and leaves the shrine, believing she isn't needed, causing a sealed box's talisman to rip. Mizuki and Tomoe run off to find Nanami, leaving Onikiri and Kotetsu to fend off the miasma. Tomoe's foxfires can't find her either, leading him to realize that she's probably turned herself into air to disappear. A lonely Nanami remembers her meeting with Mikage and realizes that the shrine is her home. Reigniting her resolve, she heads back to the shrine. That box that was unsealed is revealed to harbor a giant miasma. A spider spirit comes out of it, one that Mikage had defeated a long time ago and sealed away. Nanami shows up right as Kotetsu's about to be corrupted by the miasma. Donning her kimono, Nanami uses the ritual dance to fight the spider spirit. Dance Dance Revolution versus Spider. Fight! At the end, Nanami stumbles and Tomoe leaps in to protect her. Nanami starts again, her dress changed by Mikage's help. She completes the dance and defeats the spirit. The day of the festival, Nanami finishes her dance beautifully, earning praise from Tomoe and clearing the reputation of the shrine. Tomoe kisses Nanami, and that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.